Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the H&H Sports Podcast. I'm Tanner Hicks, joined alongside my co-host, Jackson Huey. And yeah, man, we're excited to shoot the second episode of the pod. We appreciate your support on the first one. It's got like almost 300 views in the first, 4 days. We're recording this on Sunday. It's crazy. And if you guys are new here, which most of you guys are, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. If you ring the notification bell, you'll be notified whenever we drop a new episode. So yeah, let's jump into the episode, man. I've been super excited ever since we last recorded the last one to talk about this topic. We're talking about the NBA free agency period and like the trades that went along with it too. It's been a pretty eventful offseason in the NBA. The draft was pretty crazy. Like the first hour, we thought Jabari Smith was going one, and then Paulo goes one. We'll talk about that later, though. First, we're going to be talking about trades and free agency. A lot of things happened in free agency. Jokic, we'll just start off with Jokic, talking about Jokic. Jokic signs a 5-year, $270 million extension. Jokic's extension is the largest contract extension in the NBA history by both total value and average annual value. That's crazy. I understand it's Jokic, wild. But that is a lot of money to be giving a player. That's probably why they had to trade Will Barton and Monte Morris. That's like a combined, contract value is like $25 million, so they could pay Jokic this money. It's like they had to get rid of role players just to pay their star player. It's crazy. That's such a big contract, which is obviously it's worth it because it's Jokic, the back-to-back,
well deserved,
back-to-back MVP. But yeah, even then, that's still crazy. Average
money.
$54 million a year. That's insane. Speaking of $50 million a year, we have Bradley Beal signing a 5-year, $251 million extension with the Wizards. When I saw he opted out, I was like, yeah, he's going to get that $250 million from the Wizards. Even me expecting that, as I saw he got that extension, I was still blown away, bro. The Wizards are paying him $50 million a year, coming off an injury where he missed like over half the season.
Right.
I understand it's Bradley Beal. He's averaged 30 the past 2 full seasons he's played. But it's still Bradley Beal. He's not going to be your number one guy on a championship team. At least not like the now version of Bradley Beal. He's not going to be the best player on a championship team. So why pigeonhole your team into like this big financial debt and pay Bradley Beal all this kind of money? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, now you don't have money to put pieces around him. So
no, like you have players like Kuzma. You traded for Monte Morris and Caldwell Pope from the Nuggets.
They do have Porzingis.
They do, but he's still getting paid max money, like $34 million a year.
Yeah.
Using that money on players like Beal and Porzingis is not a good recipe for success.
No.
When you've seen players like Bradley Beal and Porzingis are not just these healthy players. They're not guaranteeing you 70 plus games a season. They still have injury concerns. Bradley Beal not so much as Porzingis, because Porzingis has missed way more games the past half decade than Bradley Beal. But still, paying those type of guys that much money, it's not setting your team up for success. Yes, Wes Unseld did a great job coaching last season for the first 20 games when the Wizards were the 1 seed, but it's just I don't think what the Wizards are doing here is setting themselves up for success.
Yeah, I don't either.
We're obviously coming with this extension. We're expecting a trade within the next 2 seasons from Bradley Beal, because I think we all know that Bradley Beal knows that he's probably not going to win anything in Washington. So we're all expecting a trade from him at some point, or at least a trade request from him at some point. At some point, meaning within the next 2 seasons. I'd have to bet the under on that. Probably even this season. I could see him getting traded at the deadline. But what other team has $50 million to match that? That's what I'm saying. Like, Bradley Beal put the Wizards in a hole, and he also put himself in a hole, because teams are going to be interested, but teams may not have the assets or the money to match that, right? I think it's a lose-lose with both parties. Yeah, Bradley Beal. It's not a lose for Bradley Beal because he's making $250 million over the next 5 seasons. But it's a lose for him if he's trying to win somewhere, because who knows, maybe nobody will trade for him. Yeah, he can request the trade, but who's going to want to trade for that contract if it's Bradley Beal? I think this is one of the worst contracts ever.
If I'm not mistaken, he did say he wanted to win.
Yeah, but people can say anything. Kyrie Irving said he wanted to stay in Boston, and look where he's now.
Yeah.
Moving on from Bradley Beal, I got heated for that for no reason. Jalen Brunson leaves the Mavericks coming off a Western Conference Finals bid to go to the New York Knicks. Not a very good track record when people leave their team for the Knicks. But Brunson, I think his dad is on the staff on that team, I'm pretty sure, which is like...
They hired him to recruit Brunson.
Which the writing was on the wall from the beginning. But I think I heard Bill Simmons say this on his podcast. I think this is like the Jalen Brunson sweepstakes in free agency is like one of the worst sweepstakes we've ever seen. We've seen, like, in the 2019 free agency, we saw the Kawhi sweepstakes where he was getting like calls from like the Lakers and obviously the Clippers, the Raptors to re-sign him.
Raptors restaurants offering him free food for life.
It was a good sweepstakes. It's Kawhi Leonard. He just won the Finals MVP and carried the Raptors to a championship. Like that's a good sweepstakes for a team to be involved in. But Jalen Brunson,
yeah,
like Knicks are literally freeing up cap space, like
to sign Jalen Brunson
avidly every day to get Jalen Brunson to pay him $20+ million a season. I think it's $21 million a season. Like, or no, I'm doing my math wrong on that. That's like,
yeah, I think it's like 24, 25.
Like, yeah, you have to pay a certain amount of like a tax for players to like leave their team in free agency. Like, if you think a player is worth like 18 mil, you're probably gonna have to pay him like 21 or plus, which is like the case with Jalen Brunson. I'm okay with him getting like an 18 to $20 million range contract, but like I said, there's a tax for players. There's not like an actual tax, but you probably have to offer them more money to leave their team. So it's like they're paying him like $25 million a year. So it's not a great contract, but I still like Jalen Brunson as a player, and I think the Knicks would benefit by having Jalen Brunson, and I think they would benefit from having good point guard play, especially since last year Derrick Rose was out like all year, and that obviously hindered them. They missed even the play-in last year. So I think this is a good signing, but still, in my mind, he's making a lot of money.
The Knicks have been tied to Donovan Mitchell as well. Like heavily.
Yeah, I like a Donovan Mitchell trade for the Knicks. I like, even for the Jazz, I think they would get a good return from a Donovan Mitchell trade. They're obviously partially losing the trade because they're, trading away their best. They're trading away their best player. But I think the Knicks have assets. They have Obi Toppin. They have the Derrick Rose contract. I think he's making like $13 million a year. They have Cam Reddish. I don't think they're trading away RJ Barrett in this scenario.
I think I heard that RJ Barrett's pretty much untouchable.
Which is stupid in my opinion. I understand that RJ Barrett's a good player, but if you're getting someone like Donovan Mitchell,
you don't need RJ Barrett.
Like, RJ Barrett's expendable in my opinion. If for that trade, I would throw RJ Barrett in that trade so you could lose less. You know what I mean? Like, if we trade RJ Barrett, we'd have to throw less in, like, rather than if we traded like Obi, Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish, and like picks. Obviously, I think it would take like 3 first-round like unprotected picks and like a couple swaps for a Knicks trade. Who knows? Maybe Donovan Mitchell is in Utah for the rest of his career. Maybe he gets traded tomorrow. Who knows? Yeah, I do think Jalen Brunson to the Knicks is good for the Knicks. Obviously, Jalen Brunson's a good player.
I don't think he's a number one. I don't think he's a number one option on a championship team, though.
He's not. He's a very good complementary player. He plays his role very well. He's a good scorer. He's, he gets to a spot and he plays his role well. I think he'll be a good point guard for the Knicks. I think the Knicks will benefit from having good point guard play because, like I said, they obviously, struggled when Derrick Rose was out the entire season. So I think having Julius Randle struggled as well from not having a good point guard. I think that Julius Randle struggled so much was because he didn't really have, a good point guard to set him up all season. They were playing Alec
Right.
Burks. They were playing Alec Burks at point guard last season.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. The biggest move in the offseason so far, undisputably, has been Rudy Gobert traded to the Timberwolves. And I have a question for you because I want to know if I'm overreacting to this. Okay.
Okay.
Do you think that this trade is the worst trade that you've ever seen since following the NBA?
As far as what Minnesota gave up?
Anything.
I wouldn't say the worst. I mean, I'm sure we've seen worse.
I think this is the worst trade that I've ever seen. I've been following the NBA since 2014. This is the worst trade that I've seen since following the NBA. I'm gonna tell you what the Wolves gave up for Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, remind me of that real quick. I know it was a lot.
All right, I'm gonna read you the trade, okay? And I'm gonna see if you change your mind about this being the worst trade that you've ever seen. The Timberwolves obviously get Rudy Gobert. That's the only thing that they get. And this is what they give up: Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, the draft rights to Walker Kessler, 2023 unprotected first, 2025 unprotected first, 2026 pick swap, 2027 unprotected first, and a 2029 unprotected first. That's 4 unprotected first-round picks, a pick swap, and, let's make it 5 first-round picks, counting the draft rights to Walker Kessler. That's practically 5 first-round picks, 2 key role players that helped them make the playoffs.
When it came out that Gobert got traded to the Timberwolves, I really expected Jay McDaniels to be in that trade as well.
I'm sorry, they gave up Jared Vanderbilt as well. So
that's
4 rotational players and basically 5 unprotected first round picks over the next.
You're right. That's a pretty bad
over
trade
the next
on
6
the Timberwolves end.
It's horrible. And what makes it so this is not me saying that Gobert is a bad player. I obviously don't think that. Gobert is an amazing player. On the defensive side of the ball, he's amazing.
I think he makes them a top 10 defense easily.
He's so on the offensive end. All he does is catch lobs. But
you got Karl-Anthony Towns for that.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's needed for the offense. That's not what they got him for. This is not me denying that Gobert is a good player. Obviously, he's been great for the Jazz over the past half decade. I just don't think this moves the needle for the Timberwolves. Obviously, this makes them better, but I just don't think this makes them a championship team.
They don't have the bench now. I mean,
the Wolves gave up so much for Gobert that's the reason that's part of the reason why I don't think this is a good trade at all for the Timberwolves. It's also because Gobert is getting paid until he's 36 years old. At age 36, he's going to be paid almost $50 million. Rudy Gobert. This isn't LeBron. This isn't
This isn't KD. This isn't Kyrie. This
isn't any of those players. This is Rudy Gobert. He's getting paid almost $50 million at the age of 36 years old. Also, the Wolves just extended Cat to this huge extension. They're paying D'Angelo Russell a max. They're going to have to.
I think Anthony Edwards is available or is eligible next season, right?
Anthony Edwards is available for an extension next season. So they're going to have to make the decision there. All 4 of those can't stay after next season.
I really expected them to move D'Lo right after the Gobert trade, but we haven't seen that yet. So.
I do think he'll probably be shipped out next season, unless this whole Gobert trade goes completely sideways and they get rid of Gobert, which I can't see a scenario in that happening because they gave up so much for him. Right. But we've seen trade like this happen where they teams give up 5 first-round picks and whatnot. Paul George went for 5 first-round picks, going from the Thunder to the Clippers. Still, it's Paul George that they traded for, but also Gobert should not go for 4 unprotected first-round picks. Unprotected. What if this Gobert thing goes sideways? At 2029, Gobert's 31 right now. He'd be 38 years old in 2029. The Wolves don't have their first round pick in 2029 anymore. Gobert's probably not going to be an impactful defensive player at the age of 38 years old.
Probably not.
So this screws the Timberwolves 8 years down the road, or was it 6-7 years down the road? Because they traded their first round pick to be good now.
Unless they're in win now mode.
They obviously are with this trade, but it's Rudy Gobert. It sucks. This trade sucks. I hate it so much. It's obviously a great move for the Jazz because they get good rotational players and Jared Vanderbilt, Patrick Beverley, and Malik Beasley. I think Patrick Beverley's probably going to either be bought out or traded before the season starts because I don't think the Jazz are going to be competitive next year. And Patrick Beverley helps you win. So I don't think that necessarily fits what the Jazz are trying to do. This has to be easily one of the 5 worst trades over the past decade. Like, you could argue ever, but I don't know if it's like one of the 5 worst ever.
Now that you've reminded me what they gave up, it's pretty bad.
It's such a bad trade. Obviously, we see the vision of what the Wolves are doing, but down the road, it's going to hurt them. This trade, it's going to hurt them.
Which they'll get 1 or 2 and then first round picks back for D'Lo, most likely.
Maybe 1.
Yeah,
I don't see D'Lo going for 2. I don't see D'Lo going for 2 first round picks. Speaking of blockbuster trades, Deshante Murray traded from the Spurs to the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks trade Gallinari and 2 unprotected firsts and 1 protected first for Deshante Murray, which for the Hawks side is a good trade. Obviously, you're trading 3 first-round picks for somebody. It's a huge risk. But Deshante Murray is a proven player. He's going to help the Hawks win. Trae Young finally gets his defensive wingman in the backcourt.
I think that's a great fit. I think Trae Young and Murray fit what
Trae Young's going to have to learn to do is learn how to play off the ball. Trae Young hasn't had to do that yet in his career. The reason he was so good last year is because he had the ball in his hand every single possession, and that offense ran through him. So he's going to have to learn how to play without the ball in his hands because Deshante Murray is not as good as a distributor as Trae Young is, but he's really good at it. He averaged 9 assists last season. So the Hawks are going to run their offense through Murray sometimes, not just through Trae Young anymore. So Young is going to have to learn how to play without the ball, and I'm intrigued to see how that's going to work next season. But Deshante Murray, great pickup for the Hawks. As far as the Spurs side of this, they're obviously cleaning house. Lonnie Walker leaves for the Lakers. They just extended Keldon Johnson last night as we're recording this, which is a great extension.
Yeah, I don't remember the numbers, but I did see that on my Twitter feed.
I think it's 4 for $80.
Okay.
It's a good contract for a player like Keldon Johnson. For the Spurs side of this, obviously they're in rebuild mode, which we haven't seen with Greg Popovich at the helm yet. It's going to be weird to see the Spurs as super bad. My whole lifetime, the Spurs have been good every year. No matter, even if they're the 6th seed the past 4 or so years, or they've been winning titles. It's going to be weird to see the Spurs being bad. But that's their plan.
They do have one of the greatest coaches of all time. So I mean, we'll see how bad they actually are.
Yeah, they will be bad. They don't have a good roster.
They will be bad, but
yeah, the Spurs. The vision here is clear. They're, cleaning house. They're rebuilding, flipping assets for first-round picks. The Hawks are trying to compete. They're trying to win now. They're trying to go back to the conference finals like they did a couple seasons ago.
The Spurs trying to get in that race for Victor Wembanyama, if I said it right.
The Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes have started. We see the Jazz, trading for 5 freaking first-round picks.
Hear me out. Wouldn't it be crazy if the Thunder selected Victor Wembanyama?
It would be, seeing Chet and Wembanyama in the front court like that, and Poku, just the lankiest team ever.
With Josh Giddey's 6'8".
Yeah.
So I mean,
That would be a fun team to watch. But I think the Thunder will be decent enough this year to not be in the running for Wembanyama unless they keep doing what they've been doing and just sitting Shea for half the season. It's just tanking. But I think the Thunder do want to try and win at least some point in this rebuild.
But they have plenty of picks if they want to move up.
The next trade we see is Malcolm Brogdon getting traded for scraps pretty much to the Boston Celtics. I think it was Aaron Nesmith, Daniel Tice, and maybe a pick. I'm not actually too sure on that. But I know Brogdon, if he can play and stay on the court, is going to be a fantastic pick for the Boston Celtics because they didn't have, anybody last season who could just come off the bench and just give them like 18 points in 15 minutes. Like just
Grant Williams here and there, but
one game.
Yeah.
Just one game, that anomaly game 7 that he had. They didn't have that, microwave flamethrower off the bench. And Malcolm Brogdon has shown that he can be that. He's shown that with the Bucks, but he was more of like a lead guy in Indiana, but he was good in Indiana when he was on the court. Brogdon has shown that he can be a valuable scorer, and the Boston Celtics desperately needed that, and that especially showed in the finals when they just couldn't score for 10-minute stretches. So yeah. I think this is a great trade for the Celtics. The latest news in the NBA world has been Deandre Ayton. He gets the largest restricted free agent offer sheet.
This was I ain't trying to interrupt you, but this was weird because the Suns a month or two ago was saying they had no interest in bringing Ayton back. And
I don't think they publicly said that.
Well, from sources were saying inside that the suspicion was they had no interest in bringing Ayton back because they didn't think he was worth max money.
Yeah, by their actions, you could tell that they just didn't want Ayton. Because if they wanted Ayton, they would have extended him last offseason when he was up for that rookie extension. But by them not extending Ayton, it just created this, tension with Ayton in the front office. And Ayton being unhappy created a tension in the locker room, which, we saw when he got benched to end that playoff series with the Mavericks. So I was a little confused by them matching based on their previous action because you could have got him way cheaper. He's getting paid upwards almost $30 million a year. That offer sheet was. They could have got him for way cheaper last season. Maybe they couldn't have. I don't know. But even if they got him for the same amount of money, they could have avoided all of this, tension that they created with DeAndre Ayton. So I thought they were just gonna, let him go to the Pacers. By the way, which would have been a great fit for Indiana. Young core of Duarte, Halliburton, DeAndre Ayton, Isaiah Jackson. That would have been a good young core. But, offer or not, the Suns match. It's just weird because, the Suns created all of this, unnecessary tension with the front office and, DeAndre Ayton. This all could have been avoided if they just extended him last season. Finally, Christian Wood traded from the Rockets to the Mavericks. And when I saw this, I was a little perplexed. I was like, is that all the Rockets could get for Christian Wood?
Because that's kind of what I said too.
It was very little that they got back for Christian Wood. You guys will say they got 5 players in return. Well, in fact, they ended up getting Marquise Chris, Trey Burke, Sterling Brown, Boban Marjanovic, the number 26 overall pick, who they took Wendell Moore with, and obviously the Mavericks got Christian Wood back. It seems like a haul considering the amount of that they got, but I don't think any of those players are going to be part of the Rockets rotation within the next 3 years. They'll help the Rockets lose, which was they're trying to do, but essentially they just traded Wood for this 26 overall pick, which is similar to the Jeremy Grant trade, which we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and talk about that as well. When we
got for the Blazers.
Yeah, when we see those trades, we think, man, is that all so and so team got back for that player? but I think it's more of it's really all they could get. Like that was their best offer. Like they've obviously been shopping these players around for months, but leading up to the draft, that's really all they could get. Christian Wood has missed like a decent amount of time since signing with the Rockets, and that, half a season right before the bubble, he played well. But like questions are like, did he play well because he was such on a bad team? And that questions remain the same when he signed with the Rockets. Like he signed with the Rockets to win, but James Harden shipped out.
Chris Paul gone.
John Wall rarely played. So that question, is he only good on a bad team, remains the same with Christian Wood. Will he play well with Luka? I would imagine so, because he's a big who can stretch the floor like Kristaps Porzingis could. And he's a good rebounder.
When
he's on the floor, I think he'll play well with the Mavericks, but there's still that lingering question. Is he only good on bad teams?
Yeah.
So yeah, that is going to wrap up this episode, guys. We appreciate you guys listening. Again, if you guys are in here, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you guys instantly know when we drop a new episode. And press that follow button on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We're on anything that you listen to. So yeah, in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the NBA draft, how we felt about it, and like our summer league reactions. It's fun to overreact in the offseason, right? So we're going to react to like summer league performances. We're going to, just cover the NBA draft in the next episode. So just stay tuned for that. We appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you guys next week.